Everybody knows who to call in an emergency situation: 911. The 911 number may well be the most effective public education campaign in history. 911 has been with us since 1968, helping local law enforcement and emergency services save lives, respond quicker, and more efficiently. Recently, Montgomery County took steps to keep in step with the ever-changing technologies of today to increase capacity, speed, and accuracy, to help avoid duplication and to help save money. Here's our report from the 911 Regional Dispatch Center.
Hello, I'm Montgomery County Sheriff Dave Vore, and I'd like to welcome you into the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Regional Dispatch Center. Today we'll be going over some of the operational functions of the dispatch center, and you will also be hearing loud beeps in the background periodically. Those are 911 calls coming in. So as you'll see, this is a work in progress. We're doing it live. Please bear with us on the background noise that you may hear, but our officers down here are taking care of emergencies and getting crews dispatched in a timely manner. Well, dispatch has historically been known as a place where emergency phone calls come in and they're answered by a dispatcher who then dispatches an emergency vehicle, whether it be a policeman, a fireman, or a medic, to some type of emergency. The kind of like the buzzword today is communication center, because much more goes on in what was the old dispatch center of old versus what a communication center is today, especially with 911 capabilities from landlines, soon to come 911 capabilities from cellular technology. There's a lot more that goes on in a dispatch center today, and that's why we've integrated it into basically a communications center, because there's so much more communications going on. Regional dispatch centers are not a new concept. It's a new concept in this county, in this area. There are many regional dispatch centers across the country that work very well. And what we presently had, before we even had some consolidation here in Montgomery County, was 17 PSAPs, which are basically communication centers or dispatch centers. Many jurisdictions had their own dispatch centers long ago, and even in certain cities, fire would have their own dispatch center, police would have their own dispatch center, and ambulance would have their own dispatch center. Regional communications brings a whole region into a center, but allows for neighboring fire departments, neighboring police departments to be able to understand and hear what's going on a real emergency in a neighboring jurisdiction. In this dispatch center, we dispatch for approximately 35 to 40% of the population of Montgomery County right now. We have a range from cities, metro parks, townships that we presently dispatch for. If Centerville has a complete emergency going on that requires a large police response, a large fire response, Englewood can switch over to those channels, Brookville can switch over those channels through us and respond, and coordination of emergency response can be done on one channel.
Before we made the switch to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Dispatch Center, we were contracting with another local agency, another local department, and service was good. There wasn't a problem there, but we had the opportunity to look and see what else was available when we changed to the 800 megahertz system. Basically, we did our homework. We looked at a lot of different factors and so forth in there, and some of the things that really led us to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department was the fact that it was one of the few accredited dispatch centers in the state of Ohio. People, I think, don't realize a lot of times that it doesn't matter where the phone's being answered. If the phone's being answered in your community or if it's being answered 15 miles away, it's the same time period and we're going to have the same response from the same personnel.
A 911 call comes in and it'll populate the screen and it'll tell you who the caller is, what the location of the address is, and etc. And then they'll type in what the complaint is. If it's a domestic violence, they'll put that information in. They'll send it via the computer to the dispatcher. The dispatcher will see that on the screen. The screen will flash red or green depending on the priority of the call. Then the dispatcher can do two things. If it's a priority 1, which is an emergency call, the call will be radio dispatched. That means it will be broadcast over the air so the officers know it's a priority call, and any other officers who are in the area listening know it's a priority call and possible immediate response is necessary, including emergency response. It'll be typed in and it'll be sent over to the dispatcher, who will then send it to the MDT, which is the mobile data terminal in the cruiser. So they don't have to talk, it'll just be transmitted like an email. And the officer will then take it and recognize that he sees it, recognize that he's in progress, and that's all done through the computers. Okay? So when a 911 call comes in and somebody may not be able to speak or talk or something along that lines, we can also come in on the location on the map of where that is. It also assists officers in responding to the call in case they're not familiar with the area, especially if you have officers from other areas responding. And in the future, when we get our upgrade, we'll be able to send this directly live feed.
Yeah, the development of a regional dispatch center really isn't a foregone conclusion, but at this point it's a process so that cities and townships have the information they need to make a decision. A consultant's report that was done about a year ago said that there was a potential to both increase public safety and to decrease cost if we consolidated all the dispatch centers within Montgomery County. While it makes it good for the county, it doesn't necessarily mean it's good for each individual city in the county, and that's what those elected officials of that city have to decide. What we're trying to do is to get together the information on cost, on staffing, on personnel, on response times, so that those communities then have facts to make that decision.
Yes, presently about 70% of all the cell phones that come through Montgomery County for 911 come into our dispatch center. Very shortly we will be throwing the switch on E911 Phase 2, which will allow a cell phone to be pretty much like a landline that shows the caller, the ID, the name, and all that stuff. Also, it will allow for us to get a location on that person within 1,000 feet. So if somebody is not familiar with the area or they're hurt and it's an emergency, our officer should have a reasonable opportunity and chance to be able to find that person.
I can tell you that it's been very well received from my department, from all those, from both fire, EMS, and police. It's been very well received in that area. And one of the other factors obviously was cost. And looking at this and moving to the Montgomery County Combined Dispatch Center, we were able to save approximately 50% of our actual costs from the year before in actual dispatch costs. So that was approximate savings, about $60,000–65,000 a year for us as a small community, and for those public safety things, that was a lot of money that I was able to put in other places to better prepare and offer better services to the community.
I think one of the exciting things about the development of the dispatch center is that it truly is a regional approach to solving a regional problem. It's not like Montgomery County or City of Dayton or City of Kettering said, you know, here's what it's going to be, take it or leave it. It's been a process where every community's been involved, the elected officials, the administrative leadership, the public safety leadership of all the communities looking at it meet at least monthly, go over development of facts, go over cost, and from this it's being developed so when communities do join, cities, townships, villages, they've been part of the process, and what they're joining is what they have developed. I'm sure a lot of people have questions. There's a website that's been developed and is constantly updated to try to answer the questions that people would have. The website is regionaldispatch.org, and on that you can see the current status of the project. You can get information about maybe each of the pieces that's being put together, and also a way to have feedback.